All right, guys, welcome to yet another edition of Social Banter on the Banter Space. Today, we are going to be discussing issues around the LGBT community and the influence of the Western leaders on the African leaders to try to make them accept this community and incorporate them into their culture. But before we go on, I want to thank you for how you have been following us, and I want to encourage you to please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Today, again, with me, I have my friend Sheye and Amboyegas, as you know. So let's just dive straight into the topic. Sheye, the LGBT community. Let's just start from the origin. How did it start? And or what do you know about the community generally?
All right. Welcome once again to the Banter Space, viewers, subscribers. It's so nice to have you guys around. Well, I think if I LGBT community, has been very very old. It's a very very old thing. Let me go a little bit biblical. I think it started right from the days of Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible. So if we have to talk about the LGBT thing, those guys that wanted to sleep with an angel. So if you have to talk about the LGBT thing, I think it is something that is as old as the human race itself, just like talking about prostitution. So I think it's something that has stayed with us for a very long time. Well, for so many cultures and religion around the world. Um, for so many years, LGBT has not been accepted, but somehow it found itself into the Caucasian world, giving an expression to it. And before we know it, late 90s, early part of this current millennium, it became, starting from America down to Europe, the LGBT thing became a global thing. And for the kind of freedom and the human rights you have in the Western world, it became so much part of the society that even churches and other religious organizations that were either told so much vehemently against this thing started accepting it. We heard of adoption of gay marriages and the rest. So LGBT is something that has been with us for a very, very long time, and I'm
Yeah.
sure
I know the
it's
concept of LGBT has been around for a while. Like you said, it's as old as maybe creation. But the community itself, like you rightly said, started in the 90s, and that's when they now formed this social, community whereby they have their flags, they have their rules, they have their culture, they have what they call the LGBT culture. And though not all LGBT people belong to the LGBT culture, because the LGBT culture involves this queer community, them coming around, having festivals, and not all the LGBT people want to be part of the festivals and all that for reasons best known to them. But what I want us to look at is the age of the LGBT people, like how old it has been in existence. Does that does that justify the legality or legitimacy of it? I'm going somewhere because I will share my opinion. I do not believe in it being a natural concept like they like to push it for many reasons. And that's what even the discussion is going to go around because of the controversies, attributed to the community. Number one, they just want people to accept them, and there has never been any valid argument, that favors the community. Yes, we understand we have lesbians, we have gay people, we have bisexual, we have transgender. It used to be LGB, in the early 90s that you talked about, but later on it became LGBT, transgender. Now it's plus, whereby you have those who are into different kinds of things, involved. So when it comes to the natural concept of people, can someone be bisexual? Yeah, we understand the fact that some people can be born, like that biologically, which to me, I feel like maybe that is like a biological.
Of genetical disorder, right?
Oh, okay, it's a disorder. Thank you very much. It's a disorder. So that's how I see it. But then for them to now want to push even those who do not have that disorder, who are not the natural, and they want to push that agenda on the general, on the global public, it's one thing that I have an issue with. So going back to my question now, do you feel it is a natural phenomenon? And if we are saying okay, it has been as old as creation, does that now legitimize, or does that now makes it valid? Does it validate the practice of it?
Well, number one, personally speaking, just like you mentioned, I'm not so down with the idea of LGBT. It's not something I believe in personally. That's on a personal level. But it being a natural thing, like you rightly mentioned, this thing can be classified as a genetical disorder. Yes, there are ladies. I notice, those we call tomboy, ladies with a lot of masculine hormones. There are ladies that have more male hormones in their body than that of the female. Wow.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
majority of people that falls into this category, they tend towards lesbianism. You
Mm.
understand? They tend towards lesbianism, maybe because of their, what do you call it, of their genetical makeup. Are you getting me? Maybe because
Yeah,
of their
we feel, yeah.
genetical makeup. Same goes for guys that have a lot of female hormone. These things, this hormonal imbalance, have a way of disturbing people's brain,
Yeah, yeah.
because whether we like it or not, our hormones and all the testosterone, oxytocin, and the rest. Sorry, I mean, I'm not much of a biology
Exactly.
person, but I know some of these things are present. So, like I was saying, in a way, it could be natural. It could be natural. It could be natural because if it can be proven that these are the things that are toying with their head, well, while we are talking about it being an hormonal or a biological disorder or imbalance, so to say, at the same time, we cannot rule out the issue of peer pressure. Well, I don't really think they are. If I want to understand them, let me be objective now. If I want to understand them, I really think it's not about them forcing their sexuality or so to say, yes, on others. I think the whole idea about the LGBT rights, LGBT this thing is they just want to be seen as normal people because, biologically, you can't call somebody with disorder a normal person, but at the same time, once you are a human being, the human rights thing in us, they just want to be accepted into the society. They want to be accepted as normal people, so they want to get married. Though I have a lot of problem with if you want to be, if you want to go into gay marriages and blah blah blah, you want to go against the logical sense. Uh, I really do not support the idea of okay, let's say lesbian couples going for adoption of children and the rest. For God's sake, they should have just talked with whatever they believe in, and
Yeah,
if
yeah.
if there is a natural process to produce children from such what do you call it, from such a
Good,
union.
yeah.
So I think it is about them being heard and being accepted.
Well,
But if
sorry,
I well,
sorry, let me cut in.
sorry, I wanted to
Okay,
say
you are not done.
something.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I'm not done. Sorry, I just wanted to point out something. So, I did some studies. Was it studied or accidentally? Accidentally, in studying animals, I discovered that you will find it funny that there are a lot of LGBT animals too, homosexuals among that. In fact, it's very, very common among baboons and chimpanzees. So, in fact, after doing that, I began to have a second thought that, okay, well, I think this thing, in a way, could be natural. You know, I don't know whether there are baboon rights in the baboon kingdoms. You
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
But
That's part of the argument I'm talking about. The other time I mentioned the fact that most of the arguments are very weak arguments. For example, now you just said it. I've heard this before somewhere else as well. That because animals, are not there are some animals who are naturally homosexual and all that, so that makes it natural for human. We also have animals that climb on their mother and sleep with their mother. Does that now validate the fact that human beings can sleep with their own mothers as well? You understand? So that's why I use the
well,
word
but
weak
I
argument.
think that
Yeah.
there is since we have incest among human beings too.
I understand, but it is not the normal. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's not the
Yes, I
normal
understand.
way of
Yes, it
thinking.
is
It's
natural,
an
but not normal.
anomaly. Yeah, it's an
It
anomaly.
is
So why should we
it is kind
now
of
embrace?
societal anomaly, right? If
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. So why should we now be pushing people to embrace anomalies? That's my point now. Because yes, these things are happening, but they are not the normal way things should happen. So why should you? Because you were saying the other time that they just want to be heard and all that. If you want to be heard, you will not tag those who don't believe in what you are doing. You will not tag them
I think it's
homophobic.
homophobic, if I'm
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I
They
think
say
it's
people
something
are,
around that.
yeah, that you're homophobic, you are this and that. No, because the thing is, this is your idea. This is what you want to become. Good for you. This is who I am as well. Not to accept that. I am not disturbing you where you are in what you are practicing. I am not even saying you are wrong. Okay, so just leave me as well with my belief. You understand? And why should you now want everybody to accept you to the extent that you are pushing the agenda, like you said the other time, bringing children into this whole issue that children as well, you are saying, oh, they did not give them the right to choose their sexes or their gender. That, okay, it was a gender that was assigned to them at birth when they did not know. Now that they are old, that they have the right to say, this is not my gender, and change. So these things are breeding confusion. And before we go into the influence on the African community, we are getting there. I just want to talk. I want us to talk more around, this concept, because for someone who wants to understand it, where is the strong point for this advocacy?
Well, it's actually bringing a lot of confusion. Yes, it's actually bringing a lot of confusion, no doubt. They want to be heard. Now, it is the normal, or let me put it, the old normal is to be straight.
Mm.
But some people are telling us that, okay, I don't want to be straight. I want to be a bi, or I just even want to go against the natural law. You understand? So it's actually bringing a lot of confusion because even while, that's why I mentioned the aspect of children, that even while you are trying to protect your rights, and one thing I've known about human rights is your human right is not human right if enforcing your own human right is infringing on another person's
Yes, yeah, yeah,
human
yeah,
rights.
yeah.
So you can't possibly call that human rights. But for them to be heard, for them to be accepted for who they are, I think that is even what brought them into the religious cycle. That okay, I am as well a stakeholder
Mm.
in a church. So if I don't want to marry a woman, and as a stakeholder, the concept of human rights among the whites is actually quite different. There's no way we talk about this. Now we won't talk about it as Africans, or as Africans. I don't want
Yeah.
to use the word blacks.
Yeah.
So, and our viewpoints about life has quite a lot. In fact, about 80% of it has to do with our cultural background. It
Thank
is
you.
not. It is nothing. At times people talk about the woke culture, but the truth of the matter is that forget woke culture. When the chips are down, the real you comes out.
Yeah.
I,
Yes.
I had this joke about someone that will always form posh, will not want to, you understand now, know everything, accents and every other thing, forming points, until there was a riot and the guy was hit by a bullet. And the next thing they heard from this fine girl was, Shango, you understand? When, when the chips are down.
The moment of truth.
Yeah, the moment of truth will always come out.
Yeah.
Who you are, uh, based on your culture, will always pop his face. So, for me as an African and as a Christian, I most of those arguments, well, I wouldn't want to call them weak, but they actually do not work for me.
Okay.
Seriously,
All right.
they
All right.
don't work for me.
Now
But
let me
well,
say this
the
now
fact
that you
that
have
it doesn't work
mentioned.
for
Yeah.
me, I'm coming. The fact that it
Okay.
doesn't work for me, doesn't really mean that to some other people, because when this thing comes into my head, for example, I have to filter and process it through the eyes of my culture, the eyes of
Okay.
religion, and other factors. And for me, as an African, everything that I've grown up to know as value just do not necessarily align with this stuff. So I'm not seeing that, but I'm just taking a second look that, well, there are two sides to a coin. But seriously, I wouldn't know, because religiously speaking, I would say, okay, if you want to be a gay, you don't really need to force yourself on the existing order of a particular sect. Let me call it sect, of a particular sect that frowns against same-sex homosexuality and same-sex marriage. Why not just go out of that particular sect, form your own sect that believe in all these things? That would have been my own solution. But I'm just a voice. You understand? I'm just a voice. My opinion may not necessarily uh, be accepted by that community. But well, what do I
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
I'm
and
just an
that's what I'm saying here, because I'm not really even speaking as a Christian or as an African, though I will step into that shoes very shortly. But then, as a Christian, of course, it is a no. God does not permit it. God does not like it. God rebukes it. It's a sin and all that. So I wouldn't even sound. If I should want to sound as a Christian, I'll not be nice enough to say they have weak arguments. You understand? I'm only trying to be,
you
for
send them
everyone to,
you
yeah.
will you will send them straight to fire.
No, I'm not the one to judge now. I'll
No, I'm
just put
saying
it.
if you actually want to wear that clothes,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just
it will be side by
fire
side
straight.
God standards. You understand? Okay, now,
And
but as an African, you remember there was a time when President Obama was in power. He went to Kenya, and I think it was President Kenyatta of Kenya that was in power then. I'm not very sure right now.
yeah,
Then
Uhuru
and
Kenyatta.
was yeah, yeah, and was giving that address, which where he told them to embrace, the LGBT community and all that. And the president of Kenya was very swift and prompt to immediately, rebuke, that kind of appeal to them, because it came from the standpoint of the culture, the African culture. And he said that every country, every community has its own culture. And if the African community is not pushing our own culture on the Western world, then he expects that such respect for their culture should also be reciprocated, you understand, to the African culture. That means to each one is culture, you understand. And another thing he said is that even if it's going to be considered at all, Africa has not even grown to that extent. Just give us the 500 years you had, give us the 100 years you had, to develop first, because we are still battling with the issue of hunger, with insecurity, with a lot of things. we have not even had
Seriously.
to satisfaction to the point of, oh, we don't now have
No,
any problem, that our problem is
in
about.
fact,
He said
no,
Africans don't even have problem with that. We are not even considering it at all, in the
wait,
first place. So yeah.
seriously. Well, I think it's something we've permitted for a very, very long time. For a very, very long time. We've often mixed these two quite different things. We've often mixed them together, Westernization and civilization.
Mm,
For most of us, what we call civilization is Westernization. And
mm,
that's why till tomorrow, I will always respect the Arab world.
mm,
When the Caucasians went to them, they accepted their education, they accepted their technology, but they never accepted the culture.
mm.
That's why till tomorrow,
Yeah.
I'm not in support of, I'm not a pro-Iran person, but I will always respect the Iraqis, the Iran, and the rest. And if you look at these people, they are actually well technologically advanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the culture, the white culture, never really took that route with them. Though we have made a mistake, we have made those mistakes for a very long time. For God's sake, just like that, Urumi Kiyata mentioned, we have problems of hunger. I think
Mm.
the least thing that we should be thinking about
That
at
we
this
worry
time
about it. Yeah. Yeah.
is same-sex marriage.
Mm.
To be very honest, it is quite crazy that for a set of hungry people, just like President Tinubu mentioned when they were talking during his campaign, and somebody was talking about, I think it was the issue of climate change,
Mm.
when he was saying that, well, climate change is quite around us, but there are so many more pressing needs for Africans than talking about the global warming and blah 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 blah. That was when he made that funny comparison. A hungry rat in the church does not care whether the communion bread inside the church is poison or not. The first mission of the hungry rat is to eat anything. Okay, if it is now poisonous, you will die. If you can survive the poison,
Fine.
why not? You understand? So
Yeah.
it is quite crazy
Mm.
that at this point, when we have a barrage of not just small problem, a barrage of big problems in Africa, and the next discussion, for God's sake, is one man wey dey punch another man. For God's sake, wetin happen? It is crazy. We don't have lights. Our healthcare system is so. I don't know. And it's something. It's a form of challenge to the leadership around there too. I think it is because of our beggarly nature for a very
Mm.
long time. That's why somebody can just think, okay, we can force whatever we want on these people. They need aids, they need the rest. So if we are not going to them for aids, I don't think anybody will come around and say the next thing on your agenda for a set of hungry people. Are you getting me?
Mm.
It's same sex marriage. It doesn't make any sense to me.